Hey guys, sorry it's been a while. I'm going to circle around to why it's been a while in a few minutes. But first thing I do want to say is that this is actually my third time recording this video. And funnily enough, the last time I recorded this video was on Thursday, and it literally featured a very long rambly segment of me saying, this video should be up on Good Friday, and hopefully it will be a Good Friday, at which point I then proceeded to explain how I am actually very paranoid about the idea of jinxes, and in trying to say it would be a Good Friday, I might be jinxing the fact that it wouldn't be a Good Friday. And then to compound ironies on top of ironies, what happened is when I then went to export the video, because I had a little break between, as I was kind of editing stuff, and I went to export, sorry, not the video, the audio more specifically, I saw that there was something called April Fools. There was something already up called April Fools, but because my brain is stupid, all I read was April, and I thought, I must have already, exported my April update. So I closed the video without saving, closed the audio without saving, and ended up basically losing it. So the funny thing is I literally played an April Fool's joke on myself, which I think is kind of incredible. I mean, I personally think that's kind of funny that, I literally I could never have predicted that when I named that video I did April Fools, it would in fact lead to me subsequently going on to delete the audio for my April update video, thinking, I've already done a video for April. Silly me, ha ha ha. Anyway, the reason why I'm doing this April, this update video slightly later is first of all, one, because I did have that mistake, and second of all, of course, because of April Fools, because usually I try to have a little catch up at the first of each month. But the other thing is I actually wanted to cover a slightly more substantial topic. The last, I think, three times I'm really bad with fingers. 3 times I've done this, it's been kind of just covering the very basic points. But now I actually do want to cover a specific topic, which is a fear of kind of the idea of having my channel deleted, because that has happened to somebody who makes gender critical content on this channel. So therefore, I think it's something which everybody should kind of be cautious of. And again, I don't want, I am concerned that I don't want to come across as saying hey guys, everyone needs to fall into line and do as they're told to make sure their channel doesn't get taken down. Ultimately, it's up to any individual creator. For me personally, I see enough people kind of coming out or contacting me or writing on comments saying hey, your videos kind of changed my mind on this topic, that I feel like my priority is having my videos be able to continue to be put out there. Now, with all of that said, I do want to just stress that I actually don't think that I'm particularly likely to have any issues with YouTube, and the main reason for that is that my videos are monetized, and you'll find out why that's in quotes in a second, because then what I have to do is go through and kind of tick what kind of features my videos have, and particularly with regards to whether or not they should be monetized. And almost always I tick the same option, which says something like, this video might be construed as harmful or offensive, but it exists to provide commentary and education. That's pretty much the same thing I tick every single time. Now, the thing is, YouTube actually seems to audit your responses, how you rank your video, in order to confirm whether or not you're doing so accurately. And I can only assume they do this manually, because I can't imagine any algorithm that could not only identify whether or not a video is supposed to be offensive, or could be taken as offensive, but also that would be able to identify the purpose of that video as commentary or education. So I'd assume, probably, I would imagine some of it is algorithm based, but at least some of it must go through a degree of human approval. And significantly, every single time that I rank my videos, as I do, and say it's offensive, but with the intent to educate and comment, YouTube tends to agree, and I've actually now got a big green tick when I go to look at my videos, and that green tick says, you have ranked your videos correctly. We agree with the way you have ranked your videos. We are signing off and saying, well done you. Now, the green tick by no means means that I am monetized. Let me clarify. YouTube is giving me a big green tick and saying, well done, you've ranked your videos correctly. Now, enjoy your limited monetization. And by the way, if you ever see one of my videos and think, whoa, this has loads of adverts, the reason why is because I don't usually expect to have adverts. So I don't really know how adverts work. But significantly, all of my videos, I guess, would have that many adverts if it weren't for the fact that they all have limited monetization. So yeah, it seems like, I don't really know why it is, but for some reason, when my video has monetization, it just goes advert crazy. So yeah, that's why, and I have to kind of manually remove some of the adverts because, yeah, like I say, when a video gets approved for monetization, it just goes mental. And with that said, by the way, and this is the big thing, and this is the thing which is even more assuring, YouTube recently ranked, I think it was the ACLU gender stereotypes video, they actually said, not only was it fine, they said, hey, actually, we think that you ranked this video wrong because we think this video is better than you ranked it. We don't think this video could offend anybody. So the ACLU gender stereotypes video is monetized, I believe, and it's monetized despite the fact that I said I ranked it as potentially offensive. And they said, no, this video isn't potentially offensive. And to me, that there would suggest that YouTube is kind of on board with what I'm doing. Now, I'm not going to, again, I don't want to ascribe to YouTube like a singular, clarity of purpose or anything like that. Obviously, I think YouTube principally exists to make money. I think that's their main priority. I'm not somebody who believes YouTube has this kind of ideological bent. I think YouTube mostly just cares about their bottom line, and that's why they're willing to leave lots of really dodgy channels up as long as it makes them money. Which again, not really any judgment. I mean, they are a private company, and it's just the nature of the economic system we have that they're going to be motivated by profit. But with that said, they seem to not really have a problem with what I'm doing. They seem to be even willing to say sometimes, hey, we have such a small amount of a problem with what you're doing that we think you've even been too harsh on yourself. So with that said, I'm not too worried, and I want everyone to kind of feel maybe a bit more secure in the knowledge that my channel seems okay. Having said that, as I kind of already said in my introduction, I'm very cautious about jinxing things. So I do want to stress that I am aware that at any moment, YouTube could decide, like it could come across, let's just say one particular person, and that particular person could say, actually, this is really offensive, and they could say that my videos should be taken down. And I don't know whether or not I can, guarantee, just based on the few kind of positive experiences I have had, that YouTube would be batting for me. I think they'd probably just not particularly care. So I feel like my situation is nonetheless quite precarious. And it's particularly so because of a rule that YouTube has, which basically says if they say that your channel exists solely to break their rules, then they can actually delete your channel without warning. And significantly, if somebody does decide at any point in YouTube that questioning how other people define gender is something which is against their rules, then they could reasonably say, well, this channel exists to discuss that question and to debate that question, and therefore this channel exists to break our rules. And they could delete the whole channel. Now, again, I'm not too scared this is going to happen imminently, but it is a fear which, like I say, does leave me feeling like I'm in a kind of precarious situation. And with all of that said, I do want to just cover a few extra steps I'm going to take, some of them more short-term, some of them more long-term, to put myself at ease, and I guess possibly put you at ease if you are somebody who, for perhaps obvious reasons, likes my content and therefore doesn't want to see it get taken down. And the first thing is going to be fewer videos aimed at influencers. I've already said I think YouTube is principally concerned with their bottom line, and I think the main consequence of that is that YouTube has come out recently and I think been much more defensive of their influencers. And by that I mean people who, like, their main thing is just to kind of make videos that are effectively just fluff, and in doing so get, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views, and bring in YouTube lots of money by making things which is pretty inoffensive and also, let's be honest, kind of intellectually barren. And recently, I have been getting into making fun of some of that content. And, like I say, you can imagine the kind of content I'm talking about, content which, again, like I say, it's not explicitly made to kind of argue intellectually for the gender identity extremist position, but it does argue for that position, and I obviously make my responses and point out how the arguments being given are not very good. Unfortunately, I am growing concerned that YouTube could come out and say, actually, you know what, by going after these influencers, you are, making this feel like an unsafe place for our influencers, and perhaps, they'll say I'm bullying them and I'm harassing them, and that would be very concerning for me. And to be honest, I'm kind of considering even making the videos I have done in response to some influencers private temporarily. And I say temporarily because of the other schemes I have, which is the second one, videos on more academic stuff. And this is a good pivot to talk about Patreon. I have recently hit a new Patreon goal. The Patreon goal was £100, $140 approximately. And when I hit that goal, I said that I would respond to every single chapter of both volumes of the Transgender Studies Reader. And again, not quite every single chapter, because some of the chapters are literally excerpts from things which aren't exactly relevant, but basically, practically every single chapter. And obviously that would be fun because it would basically be a complete counter to this idea that we just gender critical people who just don't understand gender identity extremist theory and things like that. Obviously we do, and I think a lot of the time we understand it a great deal better than the people tweeting trans rights or human rights and all that kind of stuff, or trans women are women on Twitter, without actually thinking at all about what this means in practice, and what those rights are and what being a woman means. Obviously I'm sure you guys will know that we aren't really the ones who are ignorant when it comes to kind of meaningful and intelligent discussion about how the categories of man and woman should be understood. But I think this will still be a really useful exercise either way. I think it will be an exercise I think will be quite fun. It could also be an exercise I think where I'd be interested in getting some more kind of more creators on board to perhaps do, for example, the voices. Obviously it's going to be a case of I'm not responding to videos, I'll be responding to text, so I might get some people in to kind of do the quotations, and that'll be fun. But yeah, and I don't want to kind of say a schedule because I haven't even started looking at it yet, but it is something that will be coming, and it will be something that should be coming before we hit my next goal, which is for £200. Spoiler alert, all of my goals is just like double. But it's good because every single time means, hey, we're halfway to my next goal. But yeah, the next goal is for £200, again, $280, and it is that I will be doing a monthly review of all the other books I've read. So again, books that will a lot of the time be related to gender identity, sometimes not. But again, just as like a nice thing to help show you guys kind of what I'm doing and like what sort of literature I'm consuming and things like that. So yeah, just a nice little thing. But again, that's at £200, and I'm not expecting to reach that within a month. Not really necessarily even within 2 months. I do have a pretty standard and like consistent rate of growth for my Patreon, which is about $40 to $45 a month, which sounds like a lot, but you've got to bear in mind it takes like a little bit off. It's not that much, and I think as the kind of money goes up, it gets proportionally smaller, but it's enough that it's not quite that amount. But yeah, that's the steady rate. The interesting thing about it is that my subscribers have not gone up as rapidly for this last month. They basically, they only moved by like a little bit, like a few hundred, which is obviously, there was a point where I only had a few hundred subscribers, but at this point, that's not that much, which is, fine. I don't mind. But interestingly, my Patreon still kept going at the same rate, so that's kind of something which I'm very happy with, and I'm very assured by, to know that even when my videos might not be, going like viral within my own kind of modest sense of the word, and bring in a lot more subscribers, which is what happened in kind of January and February. Even still, the people who care enough about what I'm doing that they're willing to part with just a little bit of money to fund it is remaining quite consistent, and that's really appreciated. So obviously, I'm always really thankful for you guys and everything you do. And actually, now I think about it, I'm supposed to, and I really need to get around to doing a patron hangout for the $5 patrons. So, that will be happening. And heck, I mean, if you are watching this right now, it will probably be this Sunday. So you can give $5 now, and then you can come to the patron hangout. So there we go. Isn't that great? Yeah. So good. Patron. I think that was a good moment to kind of just cover everything. Basically, we've hit £100. That's awesome. We're going to be aiming next for £200. I think that goal is going to be really fun. I think all these goals are going to be really fun. And if you want to give some money now, the perks are pretty well defined at this point. The $3 one is a bit whatever, but I'm working on improving that. So yeah, that's that. But the one thing I did want to say, of course, is that by doing that and having that focus on the transgender studies reader and working through that and debunking that, it will make it more obvious that this channel is about an intellectual discussion. So that's one reason why I'm hoping to do it, because rather than being, responding to these influencers, who I will admit, like responding to these influencers, it's not like a valuable contribution to the discussion. It's not something which, like, I actually think, I don't think these influencers are, well, you know what I mean. I don't want to be mean to them, but I just don't think they are, But on the one hand, or on the other hand, I'm very interested in kind of looking at this in an academic sense. So that would be my preference. That would give me some security, because I think it would be much harder for YouTube to argue that my channel exists to antagonize other creators or anything like that, if it's very obvious that actually what I'm doing on this channel is dealing with a lot of academic content and kind of intellectual content. So that will be a nice bit of security there. Now, having said that, that does mean that it will make it harder to get views and subscribers. And for me, views and subscribers are not the end of the world. I've seen gender critical channels kind of have views that or videos that blow up, and then I've seen them subsequently stop making any content at all, either because the harassment became too much or because YouTube decided to shut down what they were doing. So for me personally, like, I'm not at a point, I don't want to get videos that get hundreds of thousands, even tens of thousands of subscribe or views, if those views are going to be people who are horrible and just going to kind of produce negative energy. So I'm quite happy just getting the standard couple of thousand for every single video, knowing that the subscriber number is going to trickle up kind of gradually. But at the same time, the only aspect of it that I do like is that I know that as these videos reach more people and kind of grow in their own right, it's more likely to reach people outside of the gender critical space. And in doing that, I know that people can see my content and potentially have their minds changed, maybe not to become fully gender critical, but at least to understand that this isn't like about hating trans people or anything like that. So I do want this channel to grow, because I think that from what I've seen, when it does reach people, it actually does have quite a positive effect. And with that said, obviously, for as long as I'm kind of restricting the kind of response aspect to some degree, you guys might have to just kind of share it around a bit more to help me out in that regard. So yeah, hopefully that'll work out. And I will actually say another thing. I'm going to try to network a bit more, because I've realized there's like a lot of YouTube channels that kind of have quite a few subscribers that do like interviews and things like that, and I don't actually know like many people who actually produce that content and kind of run those channels. But I think it would be something which would be useful to kind of help grow my presence here, which would obviously be a good thing. So yeah, hopefully I might be able to kind of get in more subscribers from other parts of the community and other people in general who are just kind of skeptical of the more extremist aspects of the progressive left and the more kind of untenable aspects of it. Yeah, hopefully that will happen going forward. And On that note, though, kind of contrary to that, something else I'm going to try and do is do just a few more videos dealing with other anti-feminists, like kind of right-wing anti-feminists. I'm not going to give too much away in that regard, but basically kind of just returning back in a way to the roots of this channel, which was obviously kind of debunking right-wing anti-feminists. Now, I do think like right-wing anti-feminists are kind of like dead now. like they just don't really, they're not really as relevant on this platform. But I still think it's worth looking at their arguments. I don't think, annoyingly, it's not one of those things, I don't think it's great for views. Like, I don't think most people kind of care at this point about like the feminist versus anti-feminist debate. But I do think it's worth looking at the fact these people are wrong. I'm also aware that I do have like some number of subscribers who have, kind of joined for my criticisms of gender identity extremism, but they themselves aren't feminists. And I do get comments sometimes from people being like, no, I agree with you on, your criticisms of, gender identity extremism, but I don't agree with your endorsement of, feminism. And, therefore I think it's worth making some content to kind of deal with feminist content, and particularly anti-feminist content, just to, establish that. And of course, again, that's another layer of insulation because it will show that, this, and I want to clarify, this is not subterfuge or anything like that. I genuinely, you can look back to my old videos, and I think every single video that I used to do on gender identity, I would actually say like, hey guys, I don't want this channel to become about gender identity. I used to say that. And now I've kind of realized it's actually good to just have a channel with a clear identity. That's ironic. And obviously like a clear focus, and that is my clear focus. And it has been my clear focus for the last kind of year or so. But I am also aware that it would be a good thing to just slightly broaden the focus, just to, still gender as an issue, but not necessarily as specific to gender identity with regards to gender identity extremism. However, obviously, just broadening it a bit to provide some, like I say, sense that this channel deals with any kind of ideas that are harmful for women, and especially those coming from the right, because they are obviously still a very relevant kind of threat in the, I guess, kind of social mainstream. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing. So that's good. And the final thing is I'm going to be trying to focus a bit more on my other channels and, make sure that I am putting effort into growing those. And the main reason for that is just as a kind of insurance, so that if this channel does, have any issues, I can keep kind of my general YouTube presence alive and just like promote, continue making this content, but on something like BitChute. Obviously, I don't want to be completely relegated to BitChute, so it'd be good if I can kind of have like other channels on here, and then people can, kind of find my BitChute stuff if I was ever forced to kind of start producing this content on there, just as a piece of insurance. So I guess just two quick things to stress. The first one is that this is not about, actually three things really. So let's just say the first one is that actually I do want to reach a point where this channel right here becomes one of my smaller channels, and my other channels, like particularly, for example, my film review channel, which is one I'm going to kind of try and grow somewhat imminently, but also, I'm not going to go through all my channels. You know what? Yeah, okay, let's go through all my channels. So there's Dankpol, which I do with Luke, which talks about kind of general progressive politics. There's Cancel Council, which I do with a different Luke, who is, which is about dealing with kind of the silliness of like political, like contemporary identity politics in a way. Then there's a third channel, which I do with the first Luke, which is a film review channel, and I kind of want to start doing my own scripted stuff for that. There's also a channel which I'm tentatively going to work on, mostly apart from anything else because it's fun to me, which is a kind of strategy gaming channel. You can find that, and I'm going to try and start like properly making videos for that quite soon. There is a fifth channel, which I want to do on kind of theological stuff. There's also a sixth channel, which I want to do as kind of just general like miscellaneous things where, they're not necessarily appropriate for this channel because they're not really kind of gender identity related, but they're not really appropriate for any of my channels, like say miscellaneous. And potentially even like transition that channel at some point to something like a vlog channel. Again, not like, that sounds insane, I know, because you're like, why would you do a vlog thing? But what I mean by that is just kind of, I like traveling, and obviously I can't right now, but the idea that maybe when I can kind of get around to doing that, I would actually start like being like, hey guys, I went into London today and this is what I did, just a fun thing like that, or maybe if, well, whatever's happening, just that. So those are all things which I have considered, and the main thing is that I'm not necessarily suggesting all of those channels would become, like huge channels. I'm not even suggesting that I won't abandon some of those channels after a while, depending on how they do. But I actually do like the idea of this channel becoming a smaller channel. And the reason why I like that is because it means that people might come to know me through other things. People might come to know me through film reviews, or people might come to know me because they're big Civilization 4 big Civilization 4 fans, and they want to see me play Civilization 4. People might come to know me because, let's say, they're a Christian and they want to see my theology channel. Like, people might come to know me through all sorts of different means. But the key thing is that then they would be aware that I do all this other stuff, and they would come across this channel, and they would say, oh, this guy talks about, gender identity. And then I would hope, perhaps, that they might think to themselves, well, this is something which I've not really thought about, but, this guy doesn't seem like a bigot. He doesn't seem like a hateful or horrible person. So I'll watch his content. Basically, for me, that's really important. And the key thing I want to stress here is, perhaps when I said I want this channel to become a smaller channel, you might have been thinking that that's me saying, like, I don't particularly care about this channel. I don't think this channel, like, is worth my time or whatever. Which isn't true at all. The reality is that I actually think that, with right now, this channel is kind of the at the forefront of my internet presence, which is, fine. It's something I'm very appreciative for, but it does mean that people see me and they think, oh, this is a guy who is obsessed with other people's gender identities. This guy is someone who must have some kind of neuroses around just hating the fact that trans people exist or something like that. I think maybe people get that impression. And of course, the funny thing is there's so many other things I do, so many other things I focus on, and I actually think it would be helpful if people came to understand that. And I think it would actually change more people's minds. Like, the reality is that, if I can have this channel, let's say, I don't know, I'm kind of like trying to work things out, but if I reach a point where, let's say, one of my channels has, let's say, 20,000 subscribers, and this channel has, let's say, 5,000 subscribers, that might be a better situation than if this channel had 10,000 subscribers and the other channel had 5,000 subscribers, because the reality is that many of the people who'd be watching my other channels would come onto this, and they would actually become they would be more likely to have their minds changed because they will know me from other stuff. That's kind of my logic. But yeah, I do want to stress that the reality is that even while I'm talking about focusing on other channels, for me, it's like I've always been aware that what I'm doing on this channel is something which is quite genuinely like valuable, in that I think this is a discussion that needs to be having, and I'm happy to be contributing to this discussion. So, I don't want to come across as arrogant, but that's genuinely what I believe, and it's something which I'm kind of aware about and something I incorporate into my, understanding of what I want to be doing on this platform. So yeah, with that said, genuinely, I do want to grow this channel, through growing my other channels, because the reality is I do think there's a ceiling if I just focus on this channel, because there's going to be lots of people who just don't care about this issue. But I think, like I say, if I focus on other things, people might genuinely be interested to see what I have to say about this topic because they know me from other stuff. So that's why I think growing my other channels is really valuable, aside from the kind of insurance it offers for me, knowing that, well, at least I've got other stuff going on. Now, the other thing I want to stress is that this would not take away from this channel. The reality is that I've pretty much been working consistently on this channel, and it's just like I feel like I'm putting almost as much into this channel as I possibly could. I have a few ideas kind of in the future for if like a bit more space gets cleared up, what I can be doing. But mostly, I'm gonna say like, hey, I'm basically doing everything on this channel that I need to be doing. And I'm not going to start doing more for a little while. And again, what I'm aiming for is kind of 3 videos. But the main thing I want to stress here is that I have a schedule. And for me, having a schedule is something which I very much need. Because if I don't have one, what I do, and the thing is I wasn't properly following my schedule this kind of last month in March. And significantly, apart from anything else, I was also having my health anxiety issues in March. I genuinely think my health anxiety could have been caused by the fact that I fell off schedule and wasn't kind of proceeding in a organized way and with any sort of structure. And I think that kind of caused me to have mental issues. But yeah, a lot of the time what I do is, for example, if I got ahead of schedule, as I sort of did in the month before March, I got really ahead of schedule because I just had I was just in the zone. And it basically meant that then after that I was like, I can relax now. But the problem is I relaxed almost too much to the point where I was kind of not ahead of the curve in a way, and that sort of stressed me out. So what I'm going to try and do is basically just have it so I've got pretty much every single day I allot some time to working on videos for this channel. And, it varies each day, and it is the kind of thing where I'm going to move it around. Like if I do want to kind of do a quick reaction video, I will obviously move more stuff to there. But right now, for example, I am producing this video in the time that I allotted for producing gender critical stuff, or, kind of gender identity politics stuff. So that's going to be like my structure, and I think it's going to be one that will work quite well. I think it's going to kind of make me more productive. But the reality is it's one which allows for me to spend plenty of time focusing on other topics. Not only do I have like my time allotted for films, which I'm interested in, I have time allotted for my radio stuff, time allotted like basically for all the channels that I'm considering starting in the immediate future. I have for a while now had a schedule that had time allotted for that, but I've not actually been able to kind of properly commit to that schedule because of other things I've had going on. But I'm finally at a position now where I can properly commit to that schedule. And I think the reality is, as I get more used to it, I think I might find that time starts freeing up because I'll kind of get more efficient with following it and things like that. This schedule is quite generous with the amount of time I offer myself for some stuff. And as that happens, it will allow me to kind of readjust things for the better. So yeah, the reality is that the current way I'm going to be going forward, I think it's going to be really good for me. And I think therefore it's going to be really good for you. I think it's going to allow me to have a kind of consistent workload, but also have a variety of workloads so I don't get burnt out on things. And on top of that, give me, a sense of security. And then on top of that, make it so more people might discover this channel through kind of spreading out and things like that. So it's all really kind of good news. And I do feel really positive about the situation right now. And actually, the only other thing I wanted to say is that I've also allotted some time for freelance writing. The reality is I have a master's in journalism. I do want to get into journalism. And I'm basically going to reach a point where so I'm starting to write my freelance stuff now to kind of hopefully send it off and get it published. That's going to be what I'm aiming for as like my principal source of income, with whatever I can do on this channel being supplementary. And I think that's going to be a really great kind of symbiotic relationship, not only because obviously I will be writing about a lot of gender identity stuff, which of course is what I cover on this channel, but also of course the fact that I can pretty much make it so that depending on my, financial needs, my, situation more generally, and also depending on, how well my paper is, or, what I'm writing is doing, and then in kind of with balance and contrast to how well Patreon is doing, I can kind of balance things, and it's going to be kind of quite easy to do because it's quite flexible work. So that's kind of the goal I'm aiming for, and hopefully I do get, I've been working on it. I've basically made it so I allot like a little time each day to it rather than one big block, because I think that's probably going to be better for me. But yeah, hopefully I will be able to work on that, and I think that will be, like I say, a really good situation kind of financially, in terms of just like keeping my channel afloat and keeping kind of myself afloat sort of mentally, happy with my situation. So yeah, the reality is that as long as that continues, yeah. And of course, for example, if I ever did reach a point where the Patreon I was getting was able to completely surpass, I can't think, I feel like there's a better word I'm looking for. Is it supplant? Is that the word I'm looking for? Maybe. Any need I had for anything else, obviously I could then take that time I'm allotting freelance and allot it to this channel. So that's an example of how I do have the ability to move things around, but obviously I don't want to be somebody out here acting as if I should be able to support an entire, an entire lifestyle on just a, reasonably small YouTube channel dealing with quite a niche topic, which is why I do have other areas where I want to branch out. But yeah, that is the video. The funny thing is this actually ended up longer than either of the two previous recordings, but that's, and the weird thing is this time I actually organized my thoughts, and apparently, I do maintain a lot of the time. You might think I'm rambly when I'm going off script or not on a script. The reality is that I actually find the more I organize my thoughts, the more I have to say. This time I wrote notes to make sure I kind of covered all the topics I wanted to cover, and I ended up talking for more time. I bet if I would have written a script for this, it would have ended up even longer. So make of that what you will. Anyway, so yeah, obviously this is Monday. I am sticking to the schedule, and therefore you will see content from me. I think it might just be like 2 videos apart from this week, but then eventually I'm going to try and aim for like 3 sort of high effort, like actual, not just like update videos or things like that, proper high effort videos a week. And with that said, thank you, and I hope you have a very good day. And actually, you know what? See, I never thank my patrons in my update videos because I'm always like, well, kind of like the whole update video is all about thanking my patrons. But you know what, patrons? I think you're really cool, so I will actually just give you a quick thanks. And by the way, see, this is a curious thing, and I'm a bit confused by it. My my number of patrons keeps going like up and down, but so this is like a glitch, I think. And I don't know if it means I'm not naming some patrons, because my number of patrons keep going up and down, but then the actual value, like the actual money I'm getting, seems to be remaining pretty much the same. In fact, actually, this has gone up. Like, see, that's weird. It's actually gone up since last time I checked, and yet my number of patrons has gone down, and that does make me worry that I'm missing somebody out. But I'll just say Hannah, Kirsten, Stephen, Nancy, Rubble, Lizzie, Jessica, Constant, Adriana, Harper, Alex, Leica, Jane, George, Katie, Ryan, Vishnuvius, That Feminist, Lily, Emily, Frederica, A, Evan, Anna, Sophie, Jamie, Lena, Julie, Dustin, Rashmi, Marion, BJ, Joshua, Marina, Sam, Sarah, Valerie, Kathleen, Jelena, Dorg, Alexandra, Emma, Christina, Owen, Sarah, Ibichka, Chris, Clara, Amy, Giffy, Kika, Sarah. You're all very appreciated. And yeah, I don't know, like, if I didn't mention your name there, I'm sorry. I mean, maybe you actually did withdraw your support, which is fine. Obviously, you're allowed to do that. But I'm just a bit confused because, like I say, it seems to me like the actual number of, like, the actual kind of monthly patron sum I'm getting is the same, and it even seems to be higher. And yet, it seems like the number of patrons I have has gone down, and I don't know why that would be the case. So hopefully it's not like glitching out and causing me to miss out somebody who is supporting the channel, because I thought it was 52 like a few days ago, and now it's down to 50, and yet the number, like I say, seems to be the same. So I'm a bit confused, like you know what I mean. So I'm still getting like roughly the same dollar amount that I've always been getting. So who knows? All right, bye.